Okay, another day, another match. This is against RichSea. Here they are. 706. Nice +9 goal difference. They're doing quite well. They beat Scallywags 2-4. Beat Wiswa 5-0. So quite a lot of chances happened in those games. So again, to us that just indicates two things. So one, they're playing quite an attacking tactic, and two, they're a good team. Hadn't actually checked their team. We said we were going to do that. Some nice average ratings here. He's actually, yeah, he's a pretty reasonable top player. Okay, I mean, I think we can just assume it looks like they've got a pretty balanced team like the one that they started with, which probably means on paper their team is better than ours, because we have weakened our squad a lot from when it started. Hopefully should be obvious when you look at our bank balance, because we've got a lot of money, so you can't have the amount of money we've got without compromising something, and we have severely compromised our starting squad. We're going to go with this counter-attacking. We've got a full squad, so we've kept the same tactic, because I think it's a bit stronger with these three central midfielders. Basically we bring in Vladislav, Morozov, in instead of these wide midfielders we're playing, because none of them ever played that well for us, all of these wide guys, so we've just taken them out of the tactic. And they've done the one shot, one goal thing, which I think was going to which I think I was about to say was going to force us to change something pretty quickly, until that just happened. So right now we will we have to bear in mind that their team is stronger than ours, and I think if they were playing as attacking as what we thought they originally were, that more chances would have been generated by now. So it might not be the case they are. Maybe they're playing a very balanced tactic, it's just that their team is just better than their opponents often. It's still pretty hard to believe they played 13 matches or whatever without getting a draw, unless they were playing pretty attacking football. But I've just changed it to direct ball, but as you can see, it hasn't helped the cause, and in fact made things worse. Since we've done it, they've had a couple shots, nothing has happened for us. So I think we shrink back into our shell, do the counter attacking. I think this is because we got this goal, we nabbed the goal back. I think this falls in like the other match in a way that we just want time to pass. We just want time to pass at the moment, and then at the right time, maybe it's not required, but then at the right time, assuming we didn't score that goal for a second, we could do the substitutions and go closing down and go direct ball and try and really turn the match around. But actually, if you look at this, I mean, if they have another 5 shots, 2 on target, there's less than a 50% chance they'll score a goal. And if we have another 3 or so shots, I'd guess there's about, I mean, I'm guessing there's about a 40% chance, 30 to 40% chance they might score a goal, and there's about a 20% chance, 20 to 30% chance we might score a goal, and then there's some percent chance that we'd both score a goal. I think what all that adds up to is we just want to leave it as it is, because there's more chance they won't score than they will score, and there's also a chance that we'll score anyway. So we probably want to leave the match like the type of match that it currently is, which is a match where not many chances are being generated, where it's very stifled, simply because we're winning. So we want nothing much to happen, and this tactical match-off is causing not much to happen. So if they happen to score, then we can make the triple sub or double or triple sub, and go high closing, like high pressing sort of direct ball to try to go for the win. But right now, that's not what's happening here. We're trying to hold our lead, and I think, bearing that in mind, the correct substitution now is to go more defensive. So I think we want to take off a attacking player for a defensive player. So this is quite a defensive move here, I believe. Really make it difficult for them. I mean, we're pretty unlikely to score ourselves now, but we're making it real difficult for them to be able to score. We will make a second substitution now. I'm going to pause it and check. I don't think we want to substitute this striker off for a fresh striker, because we'll then only be able to have one attacking player on the pitch if they do score. So I think that's a bit risky. I think the correct substitution now is to just bring on a fresh defensive player for a defensive player, and then we can take off a defensive player for an attacking one if they score. So we've got a holding midfielder here on the bench. I think we're going to bring him on. We're going to bring him on for either the guy with the yellow card or the guy with the least condition. I think he's playing well, and I think this, because Kral is the better defender and the better player as well. So I think we want to do that. We want to shift him to right back, and we want to put like this, basically. Let's do a bit of a shuffle, get people into positions, and get the player off with the yellow card. As you can see, we are repelling anything they're throwing at us, well, except for that. They had is that the first shot? Maybe they had 2 shots so far this half, so we really have ouch. The keeper's actually played really well this season. Like 7.22, that's a great rating for a keeper. He's played really well. This injury, I mean, hopefully we get the result here still, but this injury actually could be massive for us for our upcoming matches. We got the win. That injury, like I said, that could be massive. I think probably it would be true to say that he's our best player. And significantly, maybe even more important than the fact that he is our best player, that our backup keeper is not very good. In fact, I think the situation is that big a deal that if this injury is for any real length of time at all, we probably have to buy a goalkeeper to harbour any realistic ambitions of trying to finish in the top 4. I think that's the reality. Is that bad that if this is for more than 2 matches, then we probably have to buy a keeper. In regards to the match itself, obviously there's nothing you can do to mitigate a goalkeeper injury. Basically, you're never going to substitute off a goalkeeper, no matter how comfortable the match is won or how important your keeper is. You're never going to sub him off to preserve him, to stop him from getting. So there's nothing we could do about that. All we could do is to have not made that third sub too quickly, just in case our goalkeeper did get injured. So we did exactly that. So we hadn't made our third sub yet. So even though we had a player injured in the 80th minute, our keeper injured in the 80th minute, we still had that free sub. So that's part of the substitutes management when you're winning matches, to close them out. So we did that correctly. But yeah, I think largely, how did this play out? They scored off their first shot. That was very unlucky for us. Then we scored off our first shot, so that was very lucky for us. And then we were talking about just letting the match be nothing much happening, let it just play out till about the 60th minute mark at 1-1. That was the game plan at about this point, to let it play out and then do some stuff to try to take advantage of the fact that we're online. But then we got the goal, so again a bit of luck. And then really with those 2 bits of luck, even though there was a bit of bad luck, it put us in a pretty commanding position, because we knew basically that not many chances were going to happen this match if we left it, and we knew that we had the substitutes and they weren't going to make them. We had I'd say we were at a massive advantage from the moment that this second goal went in, and before that goal went in we were had an advantage, but as soon as that goal went in it became huge, basically, because we knew the only thing that we didn't know how we could create the chances to score a goal. We didn't know that information yet, but we did know exactly what to do to make sure that nobody would have many chances and that it was unlikely that another goal would be scored. And by the way, that's obviously exactly what's happened. No more goals were scored the whole rest of the match. So the reason why this goal was so much more valuable than any normal goal would be that gives you the lead is because we knew exactly how to give a very good chance that no more goals would be scored the whole rest of the match. So the moment that went in we had the lead, you could say that this match at this point it was over 50% certain that we were going to win. We knew that we could have a very good chance to close it out. As opposed to if we knew, for example, how we could create some chances ourselves, how we could have more possession, create more chances, this goal would be less valuable then. I mean, it'd still be good, always good to have a goal, obviously, but this goal was so much more valuable because of the nature of the match. If it was the type of match where we could do stuff, make changes to score a goal, it would be less valuable. But honestly, we tried direct, we tried stuff, it didn't work, it wasn't working. Realistically, we could have made triple sub, high pressing, whatever, and yep, that has made the difference in the past, and yep, it could have made the difference, but maybe it wouldn't have. So, whereas this goal basically just meant we'd won the match, pretty much. We're trying to do the math exactly what it all worked out. I believe it worked out something like, based on the known information and known that they weren't going to do anything themselves, I believe once it went in at half time, the chances would have looked something, like that there was way over 50% chance we were going to win, like 60%, 65%, and like a 30% chance we were going to draw, and a 5 to 10% chance that we were going to lose this match. I believe that's how heavily stacked the odds were in our favour once this second goal went in, simply because we knew exactly what needed to be done to make sure that no more goals would be scored, combined with the fact that we knew that they weren't going to do anything themselves, right? Their manager's not online, so we knew that he couldn't change anything. This situation, how valuable this goal is, it would be worth so much less, so much less if our opponent was online. But because he was offline, this goal was just an invaluable one to score. A bit of luck that basically meant guaranteed result, even it was just a 1-goal lead, and even though it was still quite a bit to play in the first half still. So, right, so that's that, and right, magic moment. How long is he injured for? 5 matches. Ouch. Time to buy a keeper, I believe. Let's see, because you can see, I mean, this guy, when we got him, we were saying, our keeper, somebody bought our existing keeper, and we basically, he was 31 or 32, I can't remember, something like that. And we got $500,000 for him, and then we bought this guy for $500,000. So we basically just swapped the keeper for a keeper, but this guy was a few years younger. And this guy, we said, he was less. Our other keeper was much more all-rounded, much more all-rounded. This guy's not that all-rounded, but where it matters, catching, reflexes. There are other attributes that matter, but these two are really important for a keeper, and he's got really high ones. And then physically, there's lots of physical attributes that are important, particularly jumping. But the other ones that are important are strength, balance, agility, and I mean acceleration is more important than all of. Pace is one of the least important physicals for a keeper. Acceleration is more important. Agility is more important. Balance is more important. So it's like the least important physical attributes for a keeper in matches are pace, endurance, and natural fitness. So he's actually got a really nice set of physical attributes when you take into consideration what is important and what isn't. Mentally, not that great for a keeper overall. But between the well above average physicals, all things considered, and the critically high attributes and the absolute key ones here for the technicals, combined with, you know, a bunch of other ones that are over 10. I don't know, he's a narrow keeper, right? Couple great technicals, but the rest of them are below average. Mental's below average, but physical's above average. So he's quite narrow. Our arm was much more rounded, but this guy, he's played well for our team. So far. Now he's injured. Now we've got to buy a keeper. And then if we compare him to who we're going to have to play now, let's discuss, do we need to buy another keeper? Maybe not. Compare him to this guy. So he's, as you can see, the catching and the reflexes are noticeably down, and then the rest of the technicals are no better as well. Overall, I believe they're similar. So he's technically significantly worse, physically worse. With the ones that matter, he's got high endurance, so it doesn't matter for a goalkeeper at all. And then the ones that, all the ones that matter, he's lower, so he's worse technically, worse physically, but obviously far superior mentally here. Far superior. Composure does matter a bit. But irrespective of which ones of these matter and which don't so much, he's just way better mentally, but he's worse, significantly worse physically, significantly worse technically. Basically, he's a worse keeper. He's fine to have on the bench to play for 10 minutes here and there. He's if we start him for 5 matches, we won't win the league. I believe that's true to say. And then our other keeper's 17 years old, so he's not going to do the job. So we basically have to buy a keeper. So we're going to have to go and do that now. And then in other news, I thought they triggered the auto accept, and he was being sold. Actually, they haven't. They bid 500 grand on his auto accept. So maybe we sell this guy. Maybe we don't. That's interesting. I thought he was going. He's not necessarily. We might keep him actually. because, well, he did really nice off the bench actually. He didn't play at all in the match we just played because we didn't need him, but the one before, goal and assist, man of the match, really nice in the league. But if you ignore that goal, assist, man of the match, then in his other 4 starts, 9 matches off the bench in the league, he's just got 1 goal. So he hasn't been he hasn't really made that much of an impact off the bench overall. One big game clearly, and then in the cup he got 2 assists in a match that he started. But yeah, but however much you want to cut this, really, include the cup, fine, give him the benefit of the doubt, just pretend it was a league match, whatever. Even then you're saying still not particularly great, to be honest. 15 matches, 2 goals, 3 assists, it's possibly acceptable as a substitute player who's nearly always plays attacking midfield. It's possibly in the realms of acceptable, but for us the big issue really is that you can argue whether it's slightly above or below acceptable, or what you would like or what you would want to get, but we don't have any other option. We've got a 16-year-old youth player who's averaged 6 and 7 matches. He's not going to be good enough. We could try this player, but we know he's not. Basically, we've got no other. As great as he hasn't been, we know for a fact everybody else we've got at the moment is going to be a lot worse. So we might have. Whilst we look for the keeper, we're going to also look how we feel, how easy it is to upgrade this guy, because maybe it's worth accepting the $500,000 because he's not that great. He is 33. Maybe we can get something else in. I don't know. Let's see. The keeper's the big deal for us. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things. You play the match, you win it, your situation looks better, and you start talking about how rosy it all starts to look, and then you lose a single match, and everything looks so much worse all of a sudden. But yeah. But as you can see, I guess there's another key point here that can't be ignored, which is that when you're looking at all these projections and stuff, it can't be ignored that, broadly speaking, having played more matches is an advantage. Obviously it can be an advantage or a disadvantage depending on if you played less matches what the result is, but it's an advantage in the context that it's far more likely that these teams above us, it's just better to have the points in the bag, basically, if you're talking about projections, because, well, let's do a practical example here, and we're going to come back to it, right? We're going to come back to it in a few days. We're going to remember an easy example here, and we'll come back to it. So we have 4. Let's pick these 4 teams because we're going to remember them easily because they've all got the same points, they've all played the same matches, and they've all got the same projected points, right? So if we come back when these teams have played 18 matches, right? So just 4 matches time, which hopefully just be in the next few days about, right? So it's far more likely that more of these teams are going to end up with a lower projected points total, basically, than what they do end up with a higher one, or I mean, they might end up with the same. But let's put it to the test, right? Let's put it to the test. So my gut feel here is that when these teams have all played 18 or more games, we're going to recap then. My gut feel is, and I could be wrong, obviously, I could be totally wrong here, but what I'm saying is that I believe there's far more chance that these teams, 2 of these teams, are going to end up with less than 70 projected points. That's basically what I'm saying. I believe that when all of these teams have eventually played 18 or more matches, that 2 of these will end up with less than 70 projected points, simply because these records that they have, 8-4, it's not realistic to have such a low draw rate over the course of a season. It's realistic that they expect they'll get more draws, blah 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 blah. Basically, there's all sorts of reasons why I believe that they're just going to end up with slightly inferior projected points. And then you look at a team like, if you compare, let's compare, right? So if I'm Athens Owls, I'm looking at this, and on the flip side, you're thinking, oh, you know, I'd rather be these guys with above me. I mean, ignore the fact that they've got one more projected point, but basically it's in the bag. That's why. Okay, alright, cheers, thanks very much, and I'll catch you for the next match.